me click the full screen here. Oh, nope. Oh, yeah, it's working. Okay, take it away.
Well, welcome. Today we've got a pretty special episode, but unfortunately I haven't memorized the intro the way that Lauren has. So if you'd like to take it away for doing it,
Sure.
jump into our Health City edition.
Yeah, blinking a little bit, but everybody, thanks for watching. We've got a few people here tuning in live, but as we're live on YouTube all the time, we're actually live from Health City in Columbus, Ohio, which we've been promoting for quite a few months now. We do this every year. So for those of you who are watching, feel free to chime in, leave a comment in the chat, tag a friend who loves tattoos just as much as we do. And yeah, we'll be starting in just a couple of minutes. If you guys are watching, this is not at our regular time, but in fact, we do have Jason released at 1 p.m. Eastern regular time, Sunday drawing. Also throughout the week, we have other live shows that we do. James was here with me every Monday morning at 9 a.m. is drawing for tattooers. Later in the day, we're actually bringing back Gabe Ripley and myself, the Tattoo Weekly, which will be at 11 a.m. Later in the day, we move on to Robbie Rapol's Let's Talk About Feelings. Also, as Sandy McAndrew is also here, Monday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern is our Monday night drawing exercises. All right, moving forward a little bit in the week, Wednesdays, you can find the Tattoo Now show at noon, along with this roundtable, which we've done like a couple different live events here, learning all about business. We meet once a week, learn a lot of hands-on stuff, Tattoo Business Suite. If you're curious about that, you can go to tattoonowbusinessroundtable.com. Also, Thursdays usually is Tattoo Collecting 101, which is at 6 p.m. from the True Tattoo Supply Warehouse in Columbus. Other than that, I think it's about time. Well, actually, we should say and kick off and say thank you to Dirk for allowing us to have this awesome space in the seminar room. Thank you to Alex at World Tattoo Events, Alex at Dermalize Pro, and everyone else who came and joined us. We'll have a couple other guests throughout the day. I know Chris Taylor will be here. And here's one.
Thanks for the intro. That was a great job as always.
Great job.
Actually, I did a really terrible job because I did not thank Guy Aitchison for providing this awesome community for us for decades, as well as Gabe Ripley, providing awesome technology for tattooers.
Even better.
Yeah.
So today is kind of a special episode. I feel like this is like a culmination of like all of our collective energy around True Tattoo Supply and Red Tree Tattoo Gallery. We all kind of work together as a team to make things as easy for Derb to get this to all come together. So it's one of those like it's like collectively all of our baby. So we have a weekend like that and it kind of goes off without a hitch. It's pretty awesome. But we have been like go in the reinventing room all weekend so far. It's Sunday and I already feel myself like walking slower than earlier this week. So, but
You all did a lot of preparation. You all the Red Tree.
well, so I actually dipped out early this year before the show because Guy was like, hey, why don't we finish Laura's tattoo? So this week I rolled into Health City already exhausted because we left Thursday morning from hyperspace and drove 7 hours to Columbus. You're not going to believe what happened.
What happened?
So my van has a lead foot and we got pulled over.
No big deal, right?
Actually, it wasn't a big deal at all. I mean, I did get a ticket. I knew I was going to, but like the cop was nice. He smiled. I smiled. My hands were a little trembly, but it's okay. I mean, we had an international with us and Sandy was riding along from hyperspace. So
It was actually miraculous because I don't usually have that type of wonderful short interaction on highway stop.
Right.
Look, it was, so he pulls us over and I hoped he was pulling over the Honda Pilot in front of me, but it was not. It was me. So anyways, I do the things, the lights come on, I get over, I pull over and he comes up and he's just like smiling already. And I have a wallet in hand. I'm pulling my insurance app up on my phone and, you know, all the things are in order. Then he goes back, he's in the car for like a minute and 30 seconds and comes back up. He's like, well, I am issuing you a citation today, but you know, asked a couple of questions and on our way. Didn't even sit there for 20 minutes just to make us wait for no good reason. You know, he was like, where are you coming from? I was like, Southern Illinois, and we were already in Ohio, so we've been driving
Nice.
already.
Nice.
So, so
And
I
you
just
know,
want to like,
cross the state line.
yeah,
Yes.
so.
Oh, well, it's a good thing they weren't unreasonable with you. I mean.
They were not unreasonable.
When the
I'm
shit
throwing
goes
my,
down, somebody's got
a
to
lot
talk
of
to.
people
the police.
complain about
Right.
police all the time, and I'm not gonna lie, Fandango was in the wrong. Fandango was going a little fast. But it was I mean, we
It was
were
a
an
highway to hell.
hour, it was, we were like an hour outside of Columbus still, so we were almost here. So that was like the only little hiccup of the weekend. We got Lauren's project finished, Guy and I did, and honestly, I thought we were gonna settle in for like a few hours of work, but you know how Guy is, he's like, oh no, we're gonna make this look super crazy, reflective, textural. We're gonna enhance this and that and push that and pull
what?
this and
I have a very good unique perspective because I don't tattoo. I have tattooed, but I don't tattoo. I tattooed my hand, just to see. And then when I was looking at it, you know how much satisfaction I got out of Guy standing there and looking at it. I am the canvas. You're never gonna get that from a canvas. You're never gonna get,
Right.
and you can't. But like for me to look at him pleased with the work on my skin, I was really happy with that.
That's amazing. Well, last night we did drink and draw and Guy was there,
Mhm.
like in spirit. So that was very cool. But that was something he was, he was talking about a tattoo that he didn't.
Mhm.
And he's like, it was Michelle was tattooing somebody and her, her client's husband had an old atrocious tattoo and Guy's like, in an hour or something, I could really trick that out, right? So that's what I feel like. That's probably what he was, that's probably his like attitude about this. Like, just probably trick that out just a little bit.
yeah, I think it's one of those like, how, you tattoo and you've had those projects where it's like, okay, I gotta call this finished to call it finished because I don't need to beat my client up anymore. I don't need to take any more money for this project. And like, but when you have those clients that are like, oh, if we need another session, let's go ahead and do it. Or like, it'll be a client that's maybe, I haven't worked on this sleeve in 3 or 5 years. Like, they'll just be like, let's just redo the whole thing. Let's, when you've got the freedom to like, basically look at a project you've done and criticize it and do all of the things that you could do to tweak it and make it as perfect as it could be. We just don't have that opportunity very often. And the way that Guy kind of like took the lead on the last session of this, that's how we got to approach it. Like as if there was any adjustment that needed to be made, we could make it.
Speaking of, hey, Gabe, would you be able to screen share Guy's Instagram, his last post?
Yeah, you take a step back, right? Like, you get a little bit of distance
Mhm.
from the work, time or
Mhm.
space or something like that.
Sometimes a few months will totally change the way you see your own work. A lot of times we can't get that far away from our drawing or painting to like look at it objectively and be like, this is what's not clicking right. Like sometimes it'll be a perspective issue or but those fresh eyes give you a whole new approach sometimes. Look at all those blues.
Wow. I guess if people are listening, they're like, what's the dead air? What's the silence for? We're all like,
We're all
"Oh,"
looking.
we're like, "Oh."
I haven't seen it that big.
Well, this like,
That is pretty big.
Fawn, this is like your composition. I guess you both worked on it or?
So one of the major things, like the original thumbnail was basically these ideas, but I had some like scroll work that was wrapping around it in my original, like our FaceTime scribble that we built together. So when Guy got a hold of that little scribble that we kind of built off of all 3 of our words, he kind of turned the scroll work into these like peacock alien plants that just turned into like the coolest element of their own. So we've got the ones at the top that curl and get warmer and the ones below get icy and cool as they are in the like subterranean area. It was just a neat element to like growth into the tattoo, like growth and motion.
Absolutely. What's really, I think, just a really beautiful part is so colorful. I actually really appreciate all the muted colors that are in it. I think there's a lot of that kind of, it's what makes the bright intense colors more intense and bright.
It really is crazy to see it this big.
Just look a lot.
Yeah, like every little section of this, it was kind of cool because I think one of the things, you know, I'm definitely into bio and abstract art. But I think one of the things that made this particularly fun is Guy and I are both we're comfortable doing tedious things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not anybody would get gratification after doing those same exact leaf feathery shapes 400 times. Lauren was sick of us tattooing them on her. She's like, oh, another one of those. That's great.
Do you think it's more like as above, so below, or so below, as above? What do you?
Both.
Yeah.
I like to play with the platonic solids. Each of the platonic solids actually represents a different like elemental. So the icosahedron, the one lower on Lauren's leg, represents water, and then the dodecahedron represents like the aether, or, you know, the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
So in a lot of my larger projects, I'll like sprinkle in all 5 of the platonic solids, sometimes like a Merkaba or a Metatron's cube, just to like, you see sacred geometry everywhere, but I really like the idea of playing in the 3-dimensional sacred. And like, if you actually get into physics and science and like light and sound, like these are the shapes that create not only structure, but harmony. So I really like playing with those shapes, and they look cool, but there's also a lot of like, you know, other attached to why I like playing with those shapes so much. So, but this top portion, I feel like I just kept standing back and feeling like Salvador Dali was like guiding our brains for that portion of it.
He did mention that after he did it, which was cool. That was a really good compliment for
Yeah.
me to hear from the makers. And they
From the maker.
makers.
So,
Yeah, there's a portion in Salvador Dali's book, 50 Secrets to Magic Craftsmanship, where he talks about the platonic solids quite a bit. You know,
I'm gonna have to get this book. I think this
Yeah.
must be the book that Russ was telling me about one time. He was telling me that there's this portion in it. First of all,
July.
so I complimented, there's a sea urchin in Russ's station. I was like, I love your sea urchin. I was like, I have a couple in my workspace too. And he then goes into Salvador Dali's book that explained that sea urchin is like a creative portal. You're supposed to have one in your creative space because it facilitates that energy. And then he also like went to say the reason that, or the thing that facilitated him to plan this dream state, is he'd sit in like his most comfortable chair, and then he'd get comfortable and he'd do all the things, and he'd totally relaxed. And as he was relaxing, he'd have his hands on the armrest, and he had a key in his hand. And as he drifted off to sleep, the key would fall out of his hand onto a ceramic saucer, and that would be just enough to wake him up. So he was actually just like dancing on that cusp of asleep, but not fully asleep. So whatever vision he saw in that brief glimpse of a half a breath of a dream, that's what he started playing with, so he could recollect it before he was too
That makes sense.
unconscious.
It's like a tantric practice. It's like the most disciplined thing, where, you know, like you said, you don't allow yourself to get there to sleep. You're right there on it. So that's where you can kind of like, I think, you know, make this unconscious stuff more conscious, you know, like come up with an imagery that like is close to what that experience is kind of like. I think that's probably how we relate to it. I looked at a Salvador Dali painting, drawing for tattooers last week. And so there's a story about Salvador Dali. He painted this painting, and he took it to see Sigmund Freud, because he was like a huge Sigmund Freud fan.
Of course,
He
that
showed it to
makes sense.
Sigmund Freud, like it was in the middle of World War II, and Sigmund Freud's in London. So Salvador Dali takes the painting to London and sees Sigmund Freud, and Sigmund Freud just was not a fan of it. Like, you know what I mean? He was so excited to show his, like, you know, his idol this thing, and he hated it.
Poor guy.
Yeah, it was like Salvador Dali was apparently
Heartbroken.
Yeah, broken.
Wow.
That's like, I'm gonna take my anteater home. We're gonna go We're just going.
But, you know, I think a lot of times those experiences are like, they're really powerful, you know, it's an event that happens then, and you don't see it till later. Like, this is gonna be funny later, you know, this hurts right now.
Yeah.
This would be funny. This would be good.
Well, so after our hyperspace trip, we finally get to Columbus, and I feel like we hit the ground running and haven't really stood still very much.
Yeah.
Action packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get quick little interviews up by the stage of people competing in the competitions, but I've been down here in the reinventing room or running to help solve the problems. Fortunately, there haven't been many problems that needed solved, but you know, the crew, we're all connected with one another. We're all texting and calling one another. So we're really good at kind of shifting off the responsibilities and still making sure stuff gets done. So it's more like I've been either actively helping with something technology related or holding a camera, or I have been on the go doing crew responsibility. So I feel like I've probably run 20 miles around this building.
There's too much to take all of it in. You know what I mean? There's just so much going on here. It's like you have to choose what to do almost, you know?
I've definitely walked all of the areas a few times, but I definitely haven't seen it, everybody. I've had a few people messaging me I haven't seen you yet. And I'd be like, I saw your booth. I saw your area. On my way. Is this the first time you've been to Hell City? Have you been
I've
to the show before?
been to this show many years ago, maybe 2004.
Okay.
2003, maybe something.
Yeah,
like
that's longer
It
ago
was a
than when I
while ago.
was attending,
Yes.
first
that.
attending.
I only came one time, and I haven't been back. So this is the first time back.
Okay, well, let
Yeah.
me ask you this. How do you feel after coming to an early show and then coming to this show now that our crew's a little bit more refined and polished?
I don't know if I mean, so long ago, I don't know how aware I was of it, but it was sort of it was funny. It was I think it was the first time Nico Hurtado was here. And he was you know, crowned king of Hell City. You know what I'm saying? He was just, everybody was so blown away by his work. So that was, you know, probably one of the main, you know, points that I can, you know, reflect on was that. And then how important he is now to the whole, you know, the whole community, the whole industry. You know, it's very cool, I think, you know, to be able to see that. You know, and then, you know, so I'm really grateful to come back, and I got to be in this room, did a seminar in here. Very, very cool. So you all showed up. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were here for the first part of it, and then we were here long enough to interrupt is really what had happened. We were here long enough to cause a commotion and then out.
Thank you.
But
yeah, it was great. So yeah, I guess that was lame. I don't know what the difference was between the old Hell City and the new one. It was amazing then. This show is amazing. It's so much energy, so much activity, and the artwork is it's just next level. You know, all the beautiful paintings and all of the incredible tattoos.
I do always love talking about the fine art of Hell City. Not all shows have some do.
Yeah.
More are starting to kind of put a spotlight on the fine art side of tattooing. But I think that's one of the things that has always kind of set Hell City apart. I remember years ago when I first started coming, there was the pint-sized paintings.
Okay.
Do you remember that, Gabe?
Oh, yeah.
It was we had the whole where we've got the art gallery now. It was just row after row after row of these teeny tiny little easels, and then they'd have big easels, and then they'd have 15 paintings on a big easel, and there were hundreds of teeny tiny little pieces of art, and it ended up getting turned into a book, which you can buy through the warehouse, True Tattoo Supply. But it was amazing to see all of these different tattooers and painters, and just see all the things if given no limitations what they would make. And I always find that it's amazing to see what somebody would choose to paint, or how they choose to paint as opposed to how they tattoo. Because I mean, I feel like I'm finally starting to get to a space where mine are kind of marrying into one, as I'm playing with landscapes and space, just spaces in general, rather than things, you know what I mean? As I just tattoo spaces and scenery, that's more of how my brain works when I have a paintbrush in my hand. So for me, they're kind of like coming together, but there are so many amazing tattooers, and you see, like, let's just say they're an incredible black and gray and lettering artist, and then they choose to knock out this beautiful full color oil painting, and it's, where did that come from? Like Gabe Londas, he did the Hell City logo this year with the skull and the eyeball, and he's known for doing black and gray work, like beautiful black and gray work. But we've got this amazing colorful, you know, you don't see him tattoo color like that, but to see his brain does work in color, and, you know, he can do just as beautiful color work as anybody else. It's really nice to see that, like, artists are that well-rounded, I guess. You know, sometimes you might look at a tattooer's tattoo style and think that they're a one-trick pony because this is what they do day in and day out. But like, sometimes when somebody's figured out their signature bread and butter, that why change it? But then to see how versatile they could be outside of their tattooing is always one of those, like, okay, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you do this because you choose to, not because it's your only option. You know, it's like the respect level kind of grows a little bit. What are some other things that make Hell City kind of special for you, Lauren?
I would say the fact that it's in the Midwest, the location is pretty important to me. It's kind of, I wouldn't say like a club, but it's definitely like an atmosphere where most people know each other or of each other. The Hell City crew does a really, really nice job with the AV, the sound, and the video. I've always noticed and looked up to the media production from Hell City. There's always really high standards for their video and media photography, and that's one thing I do really look forward to. Not only that, their stage presence is really different. Like, I was at an event recently where their stage just didn't have that. It just didn't have that vibe that you get here. And when Derb lines it up, he's, you know, there's just a lot more for the collector for sure, and the awards definitely stand out. Besides that, the performances are pretty awesome. The fact that it's like a lot of emphasis on this stage and this whole area makes it a lot more communal. Seems like people gravitate there, whereas in other places they kind of, the people who gravitate there are looking for almost like a performance or something that aren't necessarily tattooers. At the end of every night at Hell City, it's like that's where everybody goes. Everything's kind of kept in-house with where people go afterwards. There's always seminars, there's always wet paint, there's always something for a lot of different types of people. So, you know, I definitely probably like that. In a nutshell.
You were mentioning AV. So one of the reasons we're missing Ben Thomas today is he is kind of running the boards. Brian Midkiff is running around kind of like managing anything you can imagine, and Ben is handling all the AV. So we've got, I think, Sid and Logan sharing camera responsibilities, and they're keeping the show going upstairs. So it's pretty cool. We usually got Ben is the sidekick
Yes.
to keep us laughing, but today he's being serious.
Yeah.
What is
He
it
said
like
he
when
might
you walk
back
up to
down.
Ben and he'll like look at you and he'll be like, it's the most serious time.
Yeah.
Clown all year long, and then the week of Hell City, he's like game face.
Yeah, they do a good job. I was showing them the AV equipment from a convention I went to recently, just to, you know, butter them up, because that is, they have an AV booth. So it's like a production. When you go to some shows, it's like, and it's a production for the artist. It's not like it's a production. I mean, it does promote the event itself, but this type of production is desirable, you know, and it makes you feel like you were some other place, you know, and it's, when you look back, you have something to look back on, and I really like that. But got a nice booth, a nice stage, all of that, which is awesome. You don't see that. So I think Ben's doing a good job.
Well, so in the room right now, do you guys have anything pressing that you would like to? Because we have Tony LaFianza in the room, and I'd love to have him join us. He's joined us on the show a couple of times via Zoom. I feel like almost every show I go to with True Tattoo Supply, Tony's there competing, taking his clothes off for us. So if he's down, I'd love to talk with him for a couple of minutes.
Which out?
Sure, yeah.
You do?
And you stay. We'll have Lauren help me interrogate Tony.
Over that.
You know what, maybe I'll first step aside and control the camera if you want to show off some of your stuff in person, or is that,
Oh, we can do that.
Okay,
can it?
yeah. Oh, man, Tony, over the last few years, Tony's collection has just grown and become something that is like just a showstopper everywhere he goes.
Can I get you to stand up? Can you get the chairs?
I take them off my shirt, you know. That's what I do at conventions.
So it's like a routine.
Ooh. Right. There we go. So how about I will just kind of zoom in a little bit from. Wow.
So my belly,
Yeah, hold the mic.
yeah, my belly is done by Josh Payne. Yeah, we've got about 24 hours into that, I think, something like that. And then that's my Tengu. Dale Callahan did that for me. He's from somewhere in Pennsylvania. He did that in Chicago for me, though.
Saturation on this thing is so flawless.
We took third place Asian this week at Hell City
Congratulations.
with this.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Well deserved.
Yeah, that's a very nice tattoo. I'll show you this side too. This side is my geisha ghost. I guess you call it. James Vaughn did that for me. See, like a year ago, at least a year ago.
January 2022.
Yeah. And let's see, is that what's up here? Let me see. No, okay, other side. Marshall Bennett did this Cyclops for me. You can see that.
Did you see who Marshall was getting worked on by yesterday?
I took a picture of it and posted. I said, this
Nice.
is something you're only gonna see at Hell City.
Yep, Paul Booth did
Paul
an
Booth.
amazing large
Tattooed
side piece on
Marshall
Marshall Bennett.
Yeah, that's awesome. And let me show you this. Oh, actually, my newest tattoo is in the back of my neck. Jimmy Calkins did that. for
That
me.
looks wonderful. You just got that done, huh?
Just got that done in Baltimore.
Nice.
In maybe a month, maybe a couple months. My back is Mike Chambers did my back for me. I'm a big Houdini fan.
He lived in the city that I live in.
Was you went with that?
Yeah. Did you place with that piece?
Oh, yeah. We got a second place in traditional for my back at Hell City this year. And that's gotta be 4 years old, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At least. Still not pretty good, not bad.
I remember the first time I saw this when I was judging. I didn't know you yet personally, but I was just so like, obviously I don't do traditional work and I only have one traditional-ish tattoo, but one of the things I love about your back piece, it is simple, it is bold, it is perfectly executed. Like it just goes to show that a tattoo doesn't have to be incredibly busy to be a good tattoo. It can just be, say what you need to say it well. And I love it. I feel like your back and my back are probably the two most identifiable from across a football field. And it's just because they're both simple and bold.
A lot of
And
people do, when they see me, they come up to me, are you the one with that Houdini? I
Mhm.
said, yeah, I'm the one with the Houdini. Yeah. I want to enter this this guy. Today, they're doing a portraits and overall, I'm gonna enter overall and portraits today. I just got this guy, you know who that is?
Is this Iggy Pop?
Iggy Pop. My guy, Iggy Pop. I like him.
If Kyle were here right now, we'd be making fun of him for not knowing who Iggy Pop was, but he should. Kyle's a music nerd. He should know who Iggy Pop is. If it was a movie reference, he'd be lost.
Well, I was in a contest here. I forget what contest it was. I think it was the new school. Yeah, I was in new school and I was showing my Alice. You can see my Alice down here.
Oh, I love that.
I was showing my Alice Cooper.
Is that Nick Mitchell?
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly. And I had on my Alice Cooper t-shirt and everything. So one of the judges says, okay, so what am I looking at? I said, that Alice Cooper. And she said, what's that?
Oh, no.
And I said, he's a rock star. I'm showing her my t-shirt. And she said, and then the girl who was standing next to me started laughing. And then she said, oh, oops, you're serious. And then the girl said, the judge said, no, yeah, I'm not a real culture person, popular culture person.
Well,
So, you know, but then I said, he's the guy with the snake. So we'll enter overall today and see what happens.
Can you see some more of your list?
Yeah, you want to see some more?
it's not often we get to look at your work in person. I mean, I've seen you, but to share you with our viewers, we don't get this opportunity very often.
This is my music leg. I call it my music leg. And I've got that, this is, the Ramones pinhead. Gabba Gabba Hey. And my social distortion is right behind him. Like him. And then, this is my David Bowie portrait. And my kiss. And I got the Beatles down below my knee.
What show did you get the Kiss one done at? I feel like I was there for that one.
No, I went to a shop in Annapolis, Maryland for that. Even
Maybe
though
you just showed it to me at a show.
even though I do have a lot of, I do get tattooed a lot of shows, but that one was John's pretty good. The Beatles logo is a cover up. And another band logo there. Then I got the Beatle portraits. And then I thought, that's really stupid. So I gotta put a Beatles logo there, not another band. So we covered that up.
Have you seen Brian Midkiff's collection
Uh-huh.
from Zappa?
That's my Zappa.
I feel like this is like a classic rock pop quiz.
Yeah. My Frank Zappa is the only one that, the only tattoo I have that is just needle to skin. Like I've been drawn on plenty and then tattooed. Somebody will draw the picture on me and then tattoo it. Like many artists do that. James Vaughn is great at that. But
So this is freehand. This
This
is
is
just
needle to skin. He didn't draw anything
wonderful.
and just went right in. Johnny Nobody did that for me.
Wonderful.
And that's, I feel like that's like 7 or 8 years old. That's pretty old, that one. And everything holds up pretty good on me. And then the other thing is, the only other one I think I have was this Motorhead. Stelios Temporis did my Motorhead and my Ramones.
I love the Snoopy and Woodstock on the other side.
I just got that in where did I get that? Chicago, I think. Holly Marie, her name, she did that for me.
Nice.
I got Snoopy and Woodstock on this side. And then Robbie Rapole did my minus on this side.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Which I love. I've always liked Peanuts, and I've always liked Linus a lot. And then that's a Jesse Smith coming up on the little, I say he's dancing, and Jesse said, no, he wouldn't be dancing. I think he's a dancing dragon.
He could be boogieing. He definitely looks like a boogier.
We've got Sherlock Holmes above him. With I'm not sure if we can see it, but it says the game's afoot. Okay, I don't know. There it is, the game is afoot. There's Sherlock.
So how many years have you been collecting now,
He's
Tony?
fun.
Like heavily? Like, when
Oh,
did-
heavily?
Yeah, heavily.
Probably, I want to say 12, 14 years, something like that. And I got my first tattoo when I was 40, which is 39 years ago now. No, that doesn't sound right.
I was waiting for you to.
No, that can't be right. But but then, you know, then I slowly got a couple little things, and then I got this sleeve. The sleeve's probably 25 years old. And then I said, yeah, then I entered a contest. That's what happened. I entered a contest with this sleeve and took home my first award. And then I was like, oh, that's fun. So I started going to conventions and get a tattoo and enter in
So
contests.
let's talk about the competitions here at Hell City for a minute. Like, we definitely see each other at different shows. I know you compete in a lot of different competitions. We can talk about the trophies, we could talk about the stage, we could talk about the actual like judging process, and we've talked about all of that a lot. And all those things are a little bit different at Hell City, and they're pretty streamlined. But
Yeah.
let me ask you, do you feel like the vibe of the collectors is a little bit different at Hell City?
Yeah. To me, yes, I think so. Well, I think Hell City overall is like top of the heap as far as collectors. And the collectors were in the contest, we're talking about it. Well, to win something at Hell City is special.
Mhm.
And we all think that Hell City contests are pretty much elite, and to win something at Hell City, I think is really the top of the heap for me.
Yeah.
That's what I feel anyway.
As a competitor, I totally agree. I
Yeah.
feel like I love when so I'm not doing any competitions this year because last year I won best all around female. And then the year before, or the previous year that was in Phoenix, I took best all around female there. So and I haven't gotten any more really large work since I won both of those awards. So I haven't entered, but as you're like in the group of competitors, and that group gets kind of like whittled smaller and smaller as we're on stage and we're like conversing with one another, we've all won best of other shows. So it is kind of like, this would be like I got best at this show on the East Coast. I got best at this show up in Michigan. I got best at this show out West. And
Yeah.
we all come together at Hell City, and we all have such different collections, but we're all so proud of them. And I think the thing that makes it feel a little bit different is like, yes, there's this competition going on, but there's this camaraderie that we've all been watching each other's collections grow. And it's almost like, I've been watching your collection grow for years. You've been watching mine grow for years. We've been watching Todd's collection grow for years. So it's like, we're watching one another collect these like award-winning, show-stopping pieces, and like there's no anger, there's no like cattiness to it. It's just
For
like,
sure.
oh man, look at this mind-blowing work, and how lucky are you to have it? Because we're all so far along that we understand, you know, it's our artists doing the work. Like there's a responsibility in choosing the right artist, but I think that's also part of the camaraderie, is the taking it seriously and respecting not only the tattoo process, but respecting one another and respecting our experiences. And then to have the gumption to get up on stage and take our clothes off and then show it off. Like there's nothing more like it from the audience. It kind of looks like it's just an easy thing to take our clothes off and show it off. But like every time I take my clothes off in front of a camera or on a stage to show off my tattoos, like my heart rate goes up. Like even though I'm like playing it cool, like it's still incredibly like vulnerable. But we're all going through it at the same time. Like we all have realized that we're all like uncomfortable with our whole birthday suit out, but at the same time, we're all equally as proud to show it off.
Yeah. And plus I realized that this is a tattoo convention. So me walking around with my shirt off, I wouldn't normally do that.
Yeah, this is the
anywhere
place to
else,
do it. Yeah.
But I could do that here. I can walk around with just in my underwear, you know, and it's okay here, but normally I probably wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, even at a beach, sometimes I don't feel super comfortable, like completely exposing all of my tattoos, because a lot of times I'll be the most tattooed, so I might get unwanted attention. I might just want to be like chilling and not answer a million questions. But here at a show, at a place like Hell City, we're prepared to talk about our artists. And it's almost like we want somebody to come up and ask us about our story so we can say, this is the artist who did it. This is why we did it. And you should do it too. You know, whether it's the same artist or whatever, but just like encouraging one another to go through these experiences and like kind of.
And that's, you know, when the contest, you're standing next to somebody and you talk, I meet so many people, you know, in the contest line, and we talk about our tattoos, and it's just, that's a lot of fun. And plus you get a lot of support, and I give a lot of support too, you know, when I understand that, in the contests, you know, judging is, subjective. So if somebody wins over me, I'm happy for them, and I say, congratulations, it's awesome, that's awesome, you know, who did your tattoo and stuff like that. So it's, the whole thing is just fun, win or not, really.
When I have the opportunities to judge, it's always hard when we get down to like, you know, the nitty gritty of the like best overall, because sometimes it comes down to like, okay, who is the most covered? Let's judge out of those. Or sometimes it's like, who has the most home run heavy hitter pieces? Let's judge out of those. So like every time there's a different combination of judges, there's a different panel and there's a different discussion happening, and there's a different criteria of things like, okay, all of these tattoos have this in common, but what's the thing that we're going to use to set this collection or this tattoo apart? Like what's going to be like the deciding factor, so to speak. And at a show like Hell City or like Motor City or the Indie Tattoo Expo, or like it gets hard as a judge to like differentiate quality when it's like each one is an A+ piece, but they're so from different genres and different realms and different wheelhouses. So it's like trying to compare like a juicy, crisp, pink lady apple, all sugary and delicious, and like a T-bone steak. Grilled to perfection, no sauce needed. Like both are perfect, both are, but how do you compare this delectable fruit with juice dripping down and then the T-bone? How do you like both are great. I feel like that's what it's like deciding on some of these competitions where it's like mixed genres in one category, like back pieces, to compare different back pieces. There are all so many different genres. It's not like looking at a category of these are all traditional Asian. There's a set of criteria that each of those tattoos need to meet. There's a checklist, but what do you do when you have two tattoos side by side and they check every single box in each of their genres, but to put them side by side, they're both flawless, but is it which one's bigger? Is it which one took longer? Is it which one's settled in the skin the longest? Like sometimes those variables end up being the deciding factor because there's no other deciding factor. It'll just be like, well, this one's older and still looks just as good. And it's not saying that this one won't look just as good in 5 more years. It's just like, we gotta have something to be the tie-breaking detail. So that gets really challenging in a competition like this where everything's just amazing. We got some more people walking in, more victims. Tony, have you met Chris Taylor? We'll give him a second to put his backpack down and then we'll get him up here on the third mic.
And we probably will roll this into the Jason Leeser's drawing group. We'll be in with him, or he's going live at 1, so probably about 10 after we'll.
How close are we?
Well, we could go over too if you want to. We could just.
Well,
join
it's
that.
1 o'clock now. Do you want to? Yeah, let's do a few minutes with Chris Taylor and then if you want to roll into it, I think
Perfect.
that would be
Awesome.
really cool. So we have Chris Taylor, the owner and organizer of the Indie Tattoo Expo, joining us.
That brand on the cords here.
Here you go. Boom.
Easy.
Beep, boop, boop. Look
Look
at that changeover.
Oh, man. It was looking easy. Hey, what's happening, everybody?
Have you and Tony met?
How you doing, Tony? I've seen him a few times up on around here, but I don't think I personally met him. So,
You do the indie show,
yes, sir.
just the one show? You do?
Yeah, just the one show. It's on our 3rd year now. So coming up in 20 days, I think. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So we roll right out of here and
okay, yeah.
hit the indie circuit. So it's only 2 hours from here though. So everything's pretty much good. Booths are sold out and it's just really been a good show this year. Everything's kind of came together smooth. Being in the 3rd year, we've got all the little kinks worked out and everybody's super excited about it. So I'm pretty proud of where it's been.
So Chris is actually a good friend of the whole like Hell City crew. For years as he was planning his show, he kind of like hung around and kind of saw how things went down here at Hell City. And I think that's one of the things that as our team, as we go over for True Tattoo Supplier Red Tree, as we go over to your show, it's kind of like a home away from home.
Yeah, it's funny. That's
So-
what my daughter said today.
Being here was
Yeah,
for
she was
her.
like, this is her first Hell City here, Sierra's. And she was like, it's so weird. It's just like being back home at Indy, like it's our crew, like, and it's our people. So yeah, I was fortunate. That's why Indy took off so well. I've known Derb for years, but over the last 4 or 5 years, he's really took the time to help kind of hone it in, and then seeing Fawn and them and just seeing how their crew works has really helped pull my crew together. So it's been awesome. I mean, you've been there all 3 years, right?
Your show?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this would be the 3rd year, I guess.
Yep.
So yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty pumped. I think we got 20 days. I'm kind of, I hand built all my props, so I got to pull them out every year and touch them up and repaper them because it's the 1920s themed. And that's probably the coolest part of the expo, I think, is the theme, and the hotel's
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
almost like a little time warp with tattoos sprinkled in heavily.
Yeah, we do 100 years of tattoo history on display. So I have, 4 major collectors that have all their stuff there. And it's just, it's amazing. We'll have Buddy Wheeler there this year, Dana Brunson, Dave Shalone, myself, Nate Harmon. So we have a large selection of some stuff that'll be there.
Before you walked in, we were talking about tattoo competitions. Were you judging last night?
Yes.
You want to talk about any of your judging experiences?
I don't know. I think, one, I'll just be honest. I hate that when we do a small color or small black and gray and we're using a section of a large color piece, like to me, honestly, that person's automatically counted out to me because you can't pick a section of something and put it in a category it don't fit in.
That's actually something I haven't really, I don't know if I've ever talked about that, but
I hate that.
like when a tattoo outgrows a category,
Yeah,
you put
yeah.
it in the next bigger
Yeah, well, they
category
have-
instead of breaking it up.
Or it's already a full leg sleeve and they're like, well, we're just going to do the face here. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you wouldn't like.
I
if-
just feel like if I was a person who had a dope ass small black and gray piece and I got beat out by the leg sleeve, whether you say you use this much of it or not,
Mhm.
let's be real. When we all look at things, everything around it factors into your visual effect. Right?
Yeah, it's funny. That's a
So-
tie-breaking criteria I wouldn't have thought of.
Oh, yeah.
Like, is this the whole tattoo or, because I do think, is it finished or is there going to be more added sometimes? And sometimes it's like, there's gonna be more added to this. We shouldn't even be judging this yet.
Yeah, well, so
But-
I'm okay with that
That's just a
sometimes.
thought that I have. I wouldn't
I'm with
say
you.
that.
I see that sometimes, and I'm okay with that because it's all that's there though, but I'm
Mhm.
saying like, you already have this full leg sleeve that's.
Like if I
completely
were to
done,
take my
and
leg
we're
sleeve
just doing the scalp
and
out of it.
say, because my leg sleeve is a whole leg sleeve, if I
Yeah.
were to be like, I only want to judge this one panel
For
right
small
here. I
color.
just want this one bio flower judged, not the whole entire bio piece.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I think
It's
that-
like choosing a puzzle piece and saying, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Well,
view-
I'm wondering, okay, so you have a leg sleeve, but 12 artists work them. You got 12 different artists, so you got 12 different tattoos though.
Yeah.
So this
Does
is
that
something
bother
I've
you
been,
still?
No, because I think overall, we're looking at the overall aesthetics of like each piece, even if they're like an old
That's
school
what I'm-
sleeve and it's broke down. And I'm trying to view like, is hers better than yours? Like, if yours is one piece, maybe there's some, lacking color and she's got 12 small pieces, but I can see everything is punched in, each outline's there, all the mechanics are there first, That's why I like judging at Hell City though, because most of the judges get up there are pretty knowledgeable.
Mhm.
Some places I will say I get a little frustrated, but like last night's a good time because we can also, that style of judging is better than the number system. We can sit there and, me and you are like, well, I mean, I like that, but did you see this? And then we walk back over and like, oh, I didn't realize that. So then that puts her back ahead of the next
Mhm.
person. So I think it's a great system that Derb's created as far as you actually get to deliberate versus write numbers. Because the number system, every time I got done judging, I'm like, that's not who I would have picked. Like every time they won, I'm like, I don't even know how that person won. Like, So I think the number system is really unfair to number 1 versus number 30 in line.
Mhm.
You're thinking, because you're really judging them per each other. We're not
Yeah.
judging them per
Yeah.
the number scale. So, it's a 1 or 2 next to a 4 or 5 or something like that. But if they're all not next to each other, you can't remember that. So you come
Yeah.
through and
By the
he
time you
comes
get to
through and
number 30, you're like, what was number 2 again?
yeah. So when I do the number system, I tell everybody my high number is a 5.
Yeah.
And so my first dope ass tattoo I see is a 5. And then if I see something be above that, it gives me room to adjust. If I see something below that, if I give somebody a 0, I try to tell people, when I've had people be like, man, that last guy's a dick, because I'm usually the last judge on the panel.
It's not that the tattoo is a 0, it's just not.
In
as-
comparison to where we're doing, because we're trying to use that
Yeah.
scale. So that's why I'm glad the scale's thrown out. In the last few shows that asked me to judge and they were doing the numbers, I was just like, I'm not interested. And actually, two of
cards
them
are
were like,
nice, though.
well, if you take it over and run it, we'll do it your way. I'm like, all right, then I'm interested.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about the card system, like what we do at Hell City and what we do at your show is, so everybody lines up and they file onto the stage almost as if they're in heats of a race, if it's a
Yeah.
large category. And then the judges actually walk around with 3 cards in their hand, and then they just hand those cards to each of the contestants. So if you're a spectator and you're watching this happen, you can actually watch the judges walk around and deliberate and consider things. And then you can watch them pick their favorites, like either as they go or at the end. And then those people from each
More
heat then get
interactive for the
set aside.
consumers too.
And then those are all kind of judged against one another at the end. But as an audience, it's almost like you're spectating, you're participating. You can, like, if you have questions, if you want to see, like, the contestants can come closer to the edge of the stage
Mhm.
when, the right moments
I
permit.
definitely think it's elevation of where tattoo contests have went to, because exactly everything you said, it creates such a new environment. Before you sit there and, well, I don't know, even back in the day, we even go into like a room like this and be judged, stand in the hallway and then walk out. The consumers never seen it till it was
Mhm.
award time. And then they
Oh, yeah.
missed it. I mean, just because you might have got 4th out of, last, I don't know if you've seen all the tattoos, but we're in
Yeah.
Hell City.
All
There's nobody who
hands.
slacks. It's almost
Yeah.
stressful to be up there and decide who's
Yep.
better.
Yeah.
So I think it's cutting the audience short, because some people pay just to come in and walk around. And that's part of what they're paying for. It's part of their experience.
Mhm.
And I said with Indie Tattoo Expo, one of my first interviews was the importance to me of throwing an indie was for the consumers, for the clients, because our clients, think about it, they spend their whole paycheck in a day with us, most people. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it gives them the opportunity to show it off and participate and be part of something other than spending their money.
Mhm.
So it's something for them to go out and be proud of their piece, show it off. And then, like you said, they get to participate in it somewhat. It's the number system. I think, after a while, your crowd, if you watch the stage, I'm 31 years in tattooing, so probably 500 conventions in. I would watch it start out with everybody around the stage. And then And then you're standing there, just the judges and everybody else has done trail off because it's boring.
Mhm.
You know, they're just standing in line. Everybody's coming up one at a time. There's not a real good view of it.
Where at Hell City in your show, you've got spectators camped out on the floor. It's
Well, yeah.
a carpet of people spectating.
You're
and
watching a live
and-
elimination and people like reality. So it's almost like putting a live reality show in front of them, you
Mhm.
know, and you're watching that live. So it's captivating to see, like, because you said the heats, you know, you're watching people get eliminated and stay and eliminated and stay versus just hearing the winner at the end. But so I think
Yeah.
that's a fascinating process.
Do you have screens up like Hell City does?
Yes, we have
Show
one.
the two that tattoo.
Yeah, we have one screen up right beside the stage, and then we also run
helps.
the same one. A screen ran all the way to the opposite end of the convention, so that you know how a lot of times if you're busy, you miss
Yeah.
part of it.
Mhm.
So we've actually put a TV at the other end so that they don't miss what's happening at the stage as
Yeah.
well. And I think that's also pulls people to the stage because they're like, oh, where's this going on? Oh, the
Mhm.
stage. I
Yeah.
want to go see it for real. You walk in the door and there's a TV showing you what's happening. Then you can, you know, I want to go get up there close and see it. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, like I said, I modeled a lot of stuff off of, I actually had done Days of the Dead Tattoo Expo for 6 years prior to doing Indie Tattoo Expo. Me and a buddy of mine, Scott Majeski, he actually just started that back up. The first one will be in Atlanta, January, I'm gonna say like the 21st or something next year. So I had a little experience going into it. But with that one, Days of the Dead, I kind of already put everything together and we were just getting a ballroom attached with them. So with this one, I had to actually meet the hotel, and our first meeting with Trina and I at the hotel was just metal studs, no drywall. The hotel, they were building it as we were planning this. So that's kind of cool to be locked in like that. But then, you know, I got to come over and spend a lot of time over here, like I said, with Red Tree and Derb, and stayed with him a couple of nights, and we're up till 4 a.m. and somehow I'm blessed with him releasing some secrets to me, you know what I mean? And there's been times where had I not had those conversations, I think I might have fell
So,
into
to be fair,
bad response.
this is just, I haven't heard this from Derb's mouth, so this is just my observation, but here's one of the things that kind of sets you apart from a lot of the other like friends of our crew. Last year, when we were setting up, we were down to like the nitty gritty of the show. So we've got like our whole team and we're sitting and we're busting boxes apart for our trash cans and we're stuffing trash bags in them. And it's one of those very tedious jobs, but it has to be done. And it's
Yeah.
really nice to show up to your booth and not have to go track down trash cans and trash
yeah.
bags. It's really nice for them
Yeah.
to just be there. But it act like it's a little thing, but for this many booths, it takes
I mean, we did
a few
couple hundred
hours.
trash cans.
but Chris and Liz like just started working right with us as if they were like part of our crew. And that's a pretty cool thing. Most people like they'll come and stand around and like keep you company while you're working,
Say
but you
what's up.
just like rolled your sleeves up and started working right with us. And I think that's the personality trait that like, and like I said, this is just an observation. I've never heard this out of Derb's mouth, but I think that's the personality trait that makes him want to share secrets with you
Yeah,
because you're willing to put the work in right alongside of us.
yeah.
You know, anybody can stand there and say, hey, Derb, answer my question. Hey, Derb, help me with this. Hey, Derb, help me with that. But when you just, even though it's the littlest gesture and it wasn't anything hard, like your back was hurt and you'd been driving all day and you still just
Yeah.
continued working with us the rest of the
Yeah,
night.
to-
You to the,
Definitely the lights.
yeah, like
Jesse.
you started working right along with us. So, you know,
I think
even though
that's
it's
part of my history.
even though
of
your
a long
team is
time.
your team, it's like, you know, an extended family.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that kind of like maybe sets the attitude of your show and the attitude of Hell City apart is that, you know, it is very family and friend oriented and we're all, you know, we drop anything to help one another.
Yeah, really. I mean, same. I mean, with you guys at Indy, I mean, there wasn't anything I couldn't ask for, and somebody popped up and took care of it, you know. And I mean, just to be privileged enough, I feel like super blessed. Like I've been tattooing 31 years, which I already feel like it's a blessing that the universe chose me. You know what I mean? We get emotional if we get too much into that, but then for somebody like Derb to like, you know, want to spread that, like, I mean, that says a lot to me. Just like, I mean, that makes me feel really amazing. But at the same time, it shows me like, you know, when a lot of people look at people like him and I, mainly him at the spot he's at, they're intimidated by that person. And because we have to be business, some people are like, oh, he's this person or that person. But to see the real him, and he would give the information to anybody if you're giving value back, I feel like, you know, and we see that. We went out to Vegas for one of my guys' bachelor party, and Derb was just out there. So I called him, we went hiking. And one of my guys was like, man, that was cool to see neither one of you guys talk about tattooing all day. And it's like, I think that's another thing that we get along for is we're both in a spot where we don't necessarily need each other. We appreciate each other a lot. I feel like, you know, but it's nice when you're in a certain position, especially at Derbs. So many people are asking you or showing you a fake side of them to get something that, I think we've just blended really well. It's been
Mhm.
awesome. It's almost like we've known each other probably for 18 plus years, but really just started hanging out over the last 5 years,
It kind of goes back to the camaraderie that we always talk about, like within the tattoo community, like you and Derb have your own separate camaraderie, but like as collectors, we have a camaraderie, as tattooers, we have a camaraderie.
That's my favorite thing
Um,
about tattooing. It's just seeing, sometimes I like to go to the show just to observe because I love to watch everybody just, and then like seeing you guys paint last night at the table. I didn't know that. Somebody came and told me, I'm like, what? They did what?
The drink and draw.
Like, yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
the drink and draw is always a good time.
The art nights at Red Tree, there, that camaraderie. I mean, you show up and there's people coloring in a coloring book, and there's people doing a sculpture, and then there's people doing an oil painting, and it's just really, I can't even say enough about tattooing. I think it's magic.
Well, I think we're probably rolling over into Jason's time. Should we come up with a good wrap up point? Chris, what's your favorite thing about visiting Hell City?
Oh, honestly, seeing you guys, I just told Kyle that last night. You guys, kind of replenish my positive energy. Like this whole crew is so positive. Like I love all the other stuff, but I love like hanging out with Fawn and chilling with Derb before the show even starts, and and hanging out with Lauren and just talking about random shit. I think that camaraderie outside of the bigness, it's like the opportunity I get to be around people of the next level, because I think that we should be elevating each other constantly.
That's an
So-
awesome last statement. We should always be elevating one another. It's a pretty cool thing. The show's called Hell City, but it's probably one of the most uplifting tattoo events around.
And it has been for 20 years, I mean, I got one of these tattoos like 15 years ago at Hell City, you know what I mean? So it's been here for a minute. And it's neat to see that it's always grown. And I think because of the way Derb has ran it and how he's put himself out there, it's helped that elevation that we talk about. Because when people come to Hell City or they're applying, they know that they need to be on their game on every aspect, not even the tattoo aspect, but like professionally, we've kind of gotten, we talk about that a lot. Like we're kind of looking into how you handle yourself professionally, because you come and work Hell City, or you come work Indie Tattoo Expo, you represent
Mhm,
Chris Taylor, Derb, Fawn, the whole team.
mhm.
So we really vet people that way. And I think that helps elevate, because there is people want to be here. So that I love that.
All right, well, everybody, thanks for joining us. I think this has been a super awesome discussion. Next week, we're gonna have a full Hell City review. I'll have all kinds of footage that I've been capturing all weekend long. We're gonna have snips from the tattoo documentation that Lauren and I did yesterday. We got Chris to take his clothes off, just like we shared Tony with you.
Like, give me documentary tattoos. Oh, by the way, you're gonna take your pants off. Well, thanks for having me on. Sorry I was running late, but
No, it was perfect timing. We got to talk with Tony and see
Yeah.
his whole collection. It actually worked out very well. So, thanks for joining. We'll be back Thursday at our normal time, and
see
we'll
most
talk
of you
to
guys
soon.
on June 9th at Indie Tattoo